which is a major fund in Nashville. It is the proceeds from the sale of Baptist Hospital, and they grant us roughly $80,000 a year, and then we re-grant that out to the community to do queer, LGBTQIA, progressive programming in the city of Clarksville and the immediate area. So that is something that me and several of us were really passionate about from the beginning, and we've gotten bigger and got more established as we've gone, so we're thankful to many of you in this room that have helped make that happen. But I guess we can start with board members over here doing the introductions. If y'all want to come to the mic, you can. Does this little mic at the podium over here work too for the sound projection?
Yeah, it's got to be picking up everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So if other board members want to come up and introduce themselves, have at it. And do it in whatever order you want to.
Hello, my name is Kelly, and I've also been part of Clarksville Q since its inception. I actually helped host a pride prom with Rod and Chaz. That's how we got started. And I am queer, and I have a bunch of queer kids, and we're just heavily involved in just about everything queer that we possibly can. We just love this community so much, and we're very thankful for all you guys for coming out here. And I'm part of the social events crew with me and Julie, so you're welcome.
There we go. Thank you.
I'm Julie Rutherford, and I'm the arbiter, which is the A on the end. And it's sort of a nebulous title, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm in charge of, but I know I ordered the food, so you're welcome. I moved to Clarksville about 2 years ago from Nashville, and I've been involved in LGBT stuff galore in Nashville for years and years. I've lived in Nashville 30 years. I'm giving away my age. But I was excited to get involved in something LGBT here in Clarksville, because my understanding when I moved here, there's nothing in Clarksville that's LGBTQ, but there is. And so I was excited to get involved, and so I am. And this is one of the things, and so happy to be here.
That's right. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Kamante. I've been with Clarksville Q. I think I just completed my first year. I handle all of the social media outreach, so it's been pretty fun being a part of something like this. I didn't, like Julie said, didn't know that there was much for the LGBT community here in Clarksville. I remember Pride last year and the backlash we got, so being a part of this definitely has made me feel a lot more confident in being in Clarksville. So thank you all for coming out.
What have you found this year?
Me, Tanaya, and some others part of Black Clarksville, we did the Black Pride this year. So we have the Black Pride Ball.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Tanaya Anderson. I've been part of Clarksville Q for like a month and a half now. So still figuring out exactly what I'm bringing to the table. But like Kimante shared, I think one of the most noticeable things I've done is help with the Black Pride Ball this June, which was really fun. It had a really good turnout. So I'm looking forward to doing that again next year. Maybe we can do it bigger and better. And helping other organizations do things here in Clarksville.
Hello, I'm Haley, worst person to put on a mic. I have been with Clarksville Q for like a month and a half. I'm a therapist, a queer therapist, non-binary therapist here in Clarksville, and I work in Nashville. We've worked with Clarksville Q before in the past, so that's one of the things that kind of kicked me in there. Yeah, I'm very queer and I'm very here, so.
Hi everybody, my name is Rod Mills. I'm one of the founding board members of Clarksville Q, and I'm glad that you all are here. This needs survey was actually an idea that I brought at our inception. It's the first of its kind in Clarksville that I'm aware of. And so I thought it was really important that we understand what people in our queer community and the local community are experiencing. So I'm really glad to see this come full circle now and what will come out of this. So Thank you all. I'm also a 14-plus year faculty member at a local university here. I'm also involved with the state Democratic Party as well as the local Democratic Party. So thank you all for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you, board.
Would you
so-
like me to introduce myself?
I'm
Jen?
sorry, Ash, go ahead, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Limon Doyle, Ash Shear. I am the bursar, the treasurer, and obviously also the tech girl. So if you have any issues with the website or anything else like that, just let me know.
Thank
Best
you.
for last.
Last but not least. So this is Clarksville Q. It's our logo, but it also lays out what are the 5 areas of focus that we're trying to do here. What are we funding? It's building community. It is advocacy, education, health, and support, all through a queer lens or LGBTQIA plus lens. We use those terms pretty interchangeably, so you may hear us switch that up tonight. But we are always talking about the larger extent of the community. And we also want to name that in the political context we're in right now, there is a lot of pressure to exclude trans, non-binary folks, queer people of color. We are intentionally including that in here. So if we're ever dropping it off and saying queer, we are still including everybody. But you're never gonna hear us drop the T when we say it, LGBTQIA+. So we have some handouts that should be on every table, every other table. That talks about what we have already funded or what we've funded this year. So Ruth's Army, Music City Prep come together to do the Reach Women's Clinic every second Saturday of the month. That is full panel STI testing. That is several different procedures for people assigned female at birth, women's health at their clinic. We were the star funder of Sea Pride when they brought back Pride after like a 20-year absence last year. We've worked with Saga on a couple things, a gender-affirming garment drive, but then also Lavender Riot, which is a film festival, which is happening next week, 17th and 18th. And that'll be in town at different locations, so check that out, Lavender Riot by Saga. We have a therapy fund for LGBTQ plus individuals that live in Clarksville that is housed under the Healing umbrella. So if you know someone who's LGBTQ plus that lives in the area that needs therapy and paying is a barrier, Healing umbrella is our partner with that. And then Healing in the Margins, they have their own separately funded therapy fund, but they also have a site now that we've supported to do therapy here in Clarksville. It's like, I don't know, 5 minutes away. It's pretty close to where we're standing right now. So we're really glad to have them with this space where Haley works. Yep. So that's our continuing grants. And then we have some new stuff that we funded this year. We try to support business owners, nonprofits. So it kind of goes the range. You don't have to be a nonprofit to get funding from us. Splat That Paint hosted a series of paint and sips. They're over there by Walmart. Inspirational Ballroom hosted some dance classes that offered non-traditional gender roles and some of their in dancing, same-sex dancing partners. And then Black Clarksville hosted the first Black Pride Ball. That was a blast. And then Lorenzo Swinton Art Gallery featured queer artist Ona Guevara and then had an artist talk. So thank you, Lorenzo, who's here tonight. Yeah, glad to have you. That was a great event. And then Nashville in Harmony they brought their summer tour here, Songs for New South. That was a lot of fun. We're really glad to have partners from a lot of our work here tonight. So we have Jamie Prodke from Queen City Choristers. Thank you for coming. And then Steph Mankey from the Tennessee Pride Chamber. Thank you for making the drive down tonight. So the biggest thing we funded this year is what you're about to see. It is the needs assessment. We spent $25,000 on it. It included individual interviews. It included a poll of about 300 Montgomery County citizens. We can go to the map. Slide 3. I love this. It's a heat map. It's where the gays are. Where the neighborhoods. It is 37040, 37042. That's kind of the heart of Clarksville. But through we see the percentages getting up to 30%. That is LGBTQ plus folks, or parents of LGBTQ plus folks, is where we start to see serious saturation of our community and then allied folks. So about what this is on 5. On behalf, so Embold Research was our partner for this. They did 10 interviews that then informed the survey, and I said 300. It was 534 registered voters. They did this from June 22nd to July 2nd, so coming off Pride Month is when this was done, so it's fresh on everybody's minds. The main priority was defining the local LGBTQ+, the main priorities for the local LGBTQ+ population, assessing people's access to resources in our community, and then figuring out how to engage allies while not losing sight of economic conditions, housing, social barriers, and then geographic dispersal is really important to see where our resources should be and how it should be allocated. So you can see on the next slide the phases we have. There was phase 1 was the in-depth interviews. Those are very qualitative. That's the next slide. Very qualitative. So it was like 10 or 12 questions they would work through with each person about their lived experience in Clarksville. And then phase 2 was that survey. So then we would take what we learned about the lived experiences and put them into more narrow questions. And then get yes, no answers. Get them to rank top issues. We'll break that out in the slides. So we do have some key findings, and we're on slide 8 now. And they start with the gap between support for inclusion and real action. So many Montgomery Countyans say they want inclusion, but they're also not seeing real action from businesses, schools, the government, church. They are seeing, in fact, the opposite. We have some pretty extreme politicians in Montgomery County, Travis Holloman, who says awful things. And so they want to see more action to stop the bad and then stand up for the good. So that was the first finding. And then we're on to the next finding. There are significant accessibility barriers. These are things that do not live in, I think, most people's traditional conception of the LGBT community. It was access to affordable housing was missing, transportation, protection from discrimination. These are things that are pretty intersectional. Mental health support, but youth were particularly vulnerable for access to affirming spaces. We also saw a pretty alarming trend, which is a lot of the respondents said that queer kids now are probably going to have a harder time than they did 10 years ago. I think a lot of us may have experienced a lot of cultural shifts that have been opening up, and we're seeing it in this poll that we're now seeing we're moving backwards. That probably does make sense if you think about it, what we're seeing in media and culture and politics. So then the next finding would be that shared priorities to create opportunity for coalition, LGBTQ folks, their needs overlap strongly with a broad section of voters. Housing is a huge issue. Transportation is a huge issue. Those of you who are coming in from Nashville, you probably think that Clarksville's like the more affordable side of housing. But as a lot of folks from Nashville are moving here, our housing costs are going up. And so if you're a working class person here, you are getting priced out of apartments, you're getting priced out of your own neighborhood. The commute traffic has become much harder. What I've told people is that the commute between Nashville and Clarksville has increased about 5 minutes every year or two. Like when I was young, it was about a solid hour from Clarksville to Nashville. It's now in the morning, it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. We're seeing, that's during peak traffic times, you're seeing increased traffic on I-24. So transit was a big one, and then crime reduction. Youth amenities was consistently named. There's just not enough spaces for youth to hang out and get to know each other. And then consumer and community behavior is influenced by inclusion. We did see a significant portion of the community chooses where they buy stuff, where they worship, where they learn, by how inclusive the space is. Is it a safe space for them? So that's the key findings, and I'm going to actually pass it off to Kelly to go through, the next phase of this presentation.
I started a slide.
And we will take questions at the end. We'll have a significant portion for questions.
So like Chaz was saying, and I think we can all agree that we all value community and inclusion. It's human nature to want to be a valued member of the community, but as we'll see with these further slides, breaking everything down, not everybody in Clarksville feels seen and heard. So like this slide says, specifically, we can see that next slide. More than half of registered voters believe that inclusion is important to the LGBTQIA+ community, but less than half of those interviewed feel that Clarksville is welcoming, respectful, and supportive of that community. Those who said that they felt Clarksville was an inclusive city cited things like, we've seen pride flags, we've seen events and parades, which by the way, Clarksville hasn't had its own pride parade, and there's only been 2 pride festivals in the last 20 years, so I don't know where they're seeing this stuff. They've also cited Southern hospitality means that everybody accepts everybody, we're all treated equally, but I can pretty much guarantee that that's not everybody's experience. Others have said they felt as if focusing on one group of people instead of keeping the focus on the whole community is wrong, that we should just I'll accept everyone, which everybody's lived experience is not in agreement with that. And finally, some people have said that they've not witnessed any exclusion personally, so they think it doesn't exist. So next slide. So speaking on conservative culture and politics, they feel that Clarksville's predominantly conservative values and Republican leadership. Someone is quoted saying that the GOP party has made it clear that they're attacking trans and LGBTQIA individuals.
Which slide are we on, Kelly?
Sorry, I'm doing 11 through 16 right now, sorry.
Maybe 16.
I'm not sure which slide number I'm on.
Not the 17.
I think go back. I think before that.
Sorry, guys.
We're getting close. I think that was it. Go
Yeah.
forward one more.
Or
No.
there?
There.
Okay.
There, we can do that, sorry. Thank you. So religion and moral beliefs were also mentioned, identifying Clarksville as part of the Bible Belt culture, observing that most religious people don't believe that LGBTQ people are following the teachings of the Bible. Myself included. I've had that lived experience. A lot of exclusion has been reported online on social media, like harmful comments, bullying, etc. So speaking of pride events, many reported that there were no local pride activities, parades that they knew of, community sports, support, or safe spaces to hold events or even hang out. This is what people's opinions have been. Many also report feeling hate and discrimination from county level officials and locals. So now we're on slide 17.
Travis Holloman.
Yeah. One more. Yeah. Overall, those who participated in the survey reported that top priorities should be addressed in Clarksville were infrastructure, like what Chaz mentioned, management of the growth of the city, as he also mentioned. They were concerned with the economy because of all the influx of people. They were concerned with unhoused people, crime, and then the availability or not of youth activities and programs. Next slide. Thank you. Survey participants listed infrastructure, city planning, tax concerns as top priorities. They reported concerns with the city fixing the roads, which I'm sure we all have seen. Traffic problems as top priorities, followed by concerns in city planning to dealing with all this traffic and all these crowds. We go to the next slide, slide 19. This slide shows various groups that participated in the survey. Oh, sorry, backwards one. There. And there were reported priorities. If you go down the list, on the left there, most of the groups are in agreement until you get down to concerns with access to health care. So women and people of color report a higher concern in this area compared to men and people who attend college. And again, we can see that people of color are also prioritizing the need to bring in jobs and businesses compared with any of the other groups. Next slide. So the open-ended option and priorities from those who participated, or they can write in what they think, reported infrastructure, growth management, economy, jobs, homelessness problems, social services, crime and safety, and youth and community amenities as key issues as well. And next. The survey revealed that while Clarksville participants reported positive experiences with healthcare services like vaccinations and things, there are other issues that need attention. You can go to the next one. As we look at these graphs, you can see that access to healthcare services and employment opportunities are reported as more of a concern. Then looking at the graph in blue on the bottom, lighter blue, we can see that housing, reliable transportation are top concerns, with over half disagreeing that Clarksville has met these needs for the community. The same for protection from discrimination and mental health support. Next. Overall, when asked if the participants had easy access to those services listed on the left, the LGBTQIA+ participants did not agree that they had access to housing or protection from discrimination, nor did they feel they had access to mental health support, which is one of the bigger ones. Next. As we say, the highest priority reported from the LGBTQIA+ community in Montgomery County is mental health and support services. Next one. Access to mental health services was reported, like I said, as top priority for youth and parents as well. You can see the one teacher's remarks at the bottom there that says, I have had parents say to me that they would rather have a dead kid than a queer kid. In a joking way, they think that's funny and like it's not a problem. Next slide.
And that was a quote from one of the interviews.
Yeah, one of the teachers at one of the local schools here. So the open-ended option for other issues is answered. So, people have answered things like equality and fairness. They feel is an issue. Religions and more objections like hostility towards them they felt, or apathy and indifference from the community. Critiques and deflection, like, oh, we don't see a problem, so there can't be a problem. And other areas for concern of the LGBT community.
Thank you, Kelly. We're off to Camonte. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the LGBTQ+ lived experience with accessibility. So as you see, LGBT persons do struggle the most with access to resources, but mostly housing, transportation, and safe spaces. Next slide. As you can see on the chart here, LGBTQ+ people can easily access more vaccinations compared to those in the lighter blue area. Next slide. Thank you. So based on this chart here, if you look at the lower lighter yellow, least accessible and safe spaces include mental health support and protection from discrimination. Those list safe community spaces, mental health support, with the protection from discrimination. A lot more disagree that we have that accessibility here. Next slide, please. Some perceived safe spaces tend to include colleges, coffee shops, libraries, and whereas local government offices and religious institutions are usually kind of avoided in the LGBTQ community.
Travis Hopper.
So looking at this chart here, we've kind of laid out how welcoming these spaces feel to the LGBTQ community based on the higher level here. Local colleges, university, and coffee shops and libraries tend to outweigh everything else. Next slide. So we also did a chart on if women feel most likely to be safe and welcome in coffee shops, libraries, and colleges as well. If you look at this chart, you can see that people of color tend to have a little more safety in these places. In that way, compared to white men, women, and non-college and college students, they tend to kind of be a little ahead of the curve. Next slide, please. So we also laid out some perceived challenges for LGBTQ+ youth and needed resources. Next slide. Okay. So we asked a couple of our interviewees, do they believe that younger LGBTQ community individuals in Clarksville face fewer or more of the same challenges as they did 10 years ago? As you see, based in the yellow, 34% do feel that more challenges are faced than we are 10 years ago, like Chaz did say before he stepped off. About 37% feel the same. Being in the community, I can kind of say we probably do face a little more challenges based in today's climate and the things that are happening in the political world and things like that. I have seen a change in how our community is being viewed. Next slide. So less than half of the voters believe any of these resources are available to the youth. So that lists mental health services, supportive school environments, safe housing options, youth-specific community events, mentorship programs, inclusive extracurricular programs, transportation to services and events, legal support and rights, education, and access to gender-affirming care. As you see, mental health services is pretty high on that list. It is nice to hear that Clarksville does have LGBTQ+ geared therapy programs around as well, so that's nice to hear.
We did get a quote in one of the interviews. There is nothing, he said, there's nothing for kids to do that doesn't cost them money here. I think that's a really sad observation of Clarksville.
Yeah. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you can see that we were charting if men are more likely to view supportive schools and transportation available to youth, whereas very few people of color believe they have access to gender-affirming care. So among those that feel inclusion is important, business stances on LGBTQ+ can impact purchasing. If you look at the blue there, inclusion that people feel are important, between 44 and 49% do feel that being inclusive can help boost businesses as well. Next slide. So majority are not impacted by the visibility of support, but it also depends on the audience. So if you look at who feel that there is no impact, it does show that 44% do feel that inclusion is not important, and I can say that inclusion is very important. No matter who you are, what part of the community you are, it is very important. So that number kind of bothers me a little bit. Next slide. And lastly, we just charted out what are the benefits of siding with transgender rights. As you see, they do feel that it is less likely, about 19%. It is a big jump from what 44% did look like before, but we're getting there, guys. So.
Yeah, I do want to name that I have access to political polling. It's behind an NDA, but I can kind of give you a nuanced version of it. This looks a lot different than it did 4 years ago. So I'm seeing the people more likely to support transgender rights, support businesses specifically. That population has grown. I would say 4 years ago, most of the blue would be below the 25% margin. So I do think it doesn't always feel like it. I think Clarksville is counter to the country. So the country is actually moving backwards in public support for trans rights. But I think as Clarksville urbanizes and we have more folks moving here, I think we're actually becoming a little more welcoming. A lot of work to do. I'm not saying the work is done. I'm saying there's more opportunity for the work to be done.
And I'm going to pass it off to Chaz for our closing.
Cool. Thank you, Kamante. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Big thing we saw across the issues, what are we missing here? Communication. People just don't know enough about what's happening, when it's happening, before it's happening, and having stuff in spaces that are perceived as welcoming. I, as someone who's very politically involved and working in campaigns, things like that, I have a really good idea of which business owners are friendly, which ones are not, but not everyone knows that. And this is something that's actually unique to Clarksville, is you will go into a business and it'll have like the black and white American flags, and it'll have very America, looks like George Bush in 2005, and it'll be owned by a queer person who fully supports trans rights. Just the coding of our community can kind of throw you off a little bit. So I do think that's an opportunity, is helping businesses and we can go on to the next slide, is helping businesses figure out how to be more public allies instead of just private allies. I don't think they feel like they have, because of the lack of communication, they don't feel like they have a base to be out as an ally or as a support person or just as a queer person in the business space. Yeah, lack of information about events. What they said is they hear about stuff on Facebook, the Facebook groups. A lot of it word of mouth, but this is the barriers. 25% say nothing's preventing them, and then conflicts. Safety concerns is up there. I think that's something I think about. Like when I attend a protest or a march or a rally in Clarksville, I'm thinking about the quickest way to get to my car. I'm thinking about how to get out of there. And that is something that we may need to look at as funding opportunities, is like, should we be looking at more security for things like this? Cost of attending. Most of the queer stuff I'm attending here is free or cheap, but I think that is tied in with the lack of information about events. Now you think about all the events we have in Clarksville, not feeling welcome or included. Child care is another one that we're hearing about, people not going out and going to events. We have a lot of young families in Clarksville. The average age of Clarksville, I don't know if you knew this, is 32, which I think is 5 years younger than the rest of the state of Tennessee. So we have a lot of folks that are in that age where they're thinking about having kids. Disability or accessibility barriers. Transportation. We have almost no public transit here that's very reliable. Yeah, we can go on to the next slide. People of color are more likely to express they're not feeling welcomed. You can see that it's just off the charts. 57%. I'm sorry, that's not the one. Not feeling welcome. That's the 21% down there in the middle of the chart under POC. So it's double what the other groups are feeling. So there's a lot of work I think to do. You know, this question is phrased about the larger community, not just queer events and queer businesses. But that is something queer businesses should be leading the charge on, and trying to be more inclusive and accepting, but also censoring people of color in their programming. Yeah. Next one. So we had an open-ended question. It was, if we gave you $1 million, what would you spend it on to work in Clarksville? Business. We see a strong yearning for more queer-owned businesses in Clarksville. Transportation is up there. Veterans is, I think, really important to think about even in a queer space. I think, this is my theory, that Fort Campbell and it being a place that accepted queer folks publicly in 2015, it was way ahead of the curve of a lot of businesses in Montgomery County in 2015. So that has opened up our community a little bit, and the veteran community in general has had now 10 years until this year, a community of more inclusive workspaces than people normally experience in Montgomery County. So that is an opportunity for us to organize in the veterans community, and there's a lot of veterans infrastructure we can work with. Health is a big one. Yeah, you see flooding. You see, because this is everybody, it's not just queer folks that were polled. You do see lots of other issues. Animal control, after school care. Of course, queer folks are answering those questions too. So yeah, we have some recommendations that came to us from Embold Research that we do think line up with where we want to go. Building inclusive whole community youth events. Developing free, accessible youth programs, art nights, sports leagues, volunteer opportunities, work on building inclusion training for adults, maybe already in existing programs, so it doesn't all have to be built out of whole cloth. Can we power map the community that exists now, and can we lead those folks to inclusion and give them the tools to be inclusive leaders in their current context? And then helping all youth feel welcome and safe without needing to label themselves, making sure that being a youth in this community is that brave space where they get to figure it out. The next thing is strengthen communications channels, invest in clear, centralized, and multilingual event promotion that doesn't rely solely on social media or word of mouth, ensuring newcomers or those without online access know what's available. That's going to be the harder one to build. To me, it's not been done yet, because I think if it had been done, if it was easy, it would have already been done by somebody. But we do have an opportunity to get out there and reach folks in Clarksville before anyone else. That is a gap that exists for every community, not just LGBT folks. So if the LGBT folks are leading that communications charge, we can bring the inclusion of folks as they enter our community. Lastly, make all community events and spaces more accessible. Work with event planners to consider physical, sensory, financial, language accessibility from the start, offering sliding scale admission, low sensory zones to remove barriers for all. And then the second set of recommendations, build a dedicated LGBTQ plus community center. That's probably the biggest one we saw in a lot of these questions. So having something that's fully accessible, centrally located, any group can book space in it. It is a versatile space, something that offers mental health support, crisis response, cultural programming. It may not be owned by one group, it may be some of a shared space. We've had in Clarksville, in my lifetime, multiple gay bars. I would even go so far as to say we probably consistently had a gay bar in Clarksville from like 1965 to 2024. Whatever, 22, is that when it closed? 22. So like we went like a good 50 years with gay-owned, gay space. Again, I'm chalking a little bit of that up to the base. There are a lot of gay soldiers that were hanging out at that base and keeping that alive. But for some reason, we are not in a space where we can keep a gay bar going. Coffee shops, we've had several stints of queer-owned coffee shops in Clarksville. So we need something. Maybe it's nonprofit, we're not really sure. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Expand alternative safe spaces for youth supports. Because of their fears about what's happening in our schools, coupled with legislation, we need spaces outside of the school control. So if you talk to a teacher today, they're afraid about what they can say. They're afraid about what books they can have in their classroom. They're worried that, folks online are going to turn on them and go for their jobs. We've got a school board member who's trying to ban pride flags, basically, for display in schools. Only the American flag. So there's a lot of just like culture war stuff that is happening around our schools, and it is clear that young people are picking up on that, and they are feeling threatened by it. So we've got to build something outside of that that they can just be. And then center intersectional inclusion in all efforts. So trying to help build that intersectionality across our movement. I would say if you're not super involved in the activist movement in Clarksville, to me it feels like we have a lot of really big, powerful organizations, but they are all within their first 3 or 4 years of existing or being relaunched. So a lot of our activism space is in its infancy, whether it is Black organizing or Latino organizing, and that's a generational turnover. I'm not saying that this stuff wasn't happening before. I'm saying that a new generation is taking over in each one of these spaces, including LGBT, including us in that. So we are in a race now to try to get some cross-intersectional happening to build strong bonds so we have a stronger movement when we build it for our generation. Yeah. So our request, because we disperse roughly $80,000 a year, we normally spend about $50,000 on continuing grants that we've funded every year, and then we keep a pot open for new grants, like art galleries and Black Pride and things like that. We're going to hold a chunk of that, $25,000, $30,000, to request a proposal for a community center. We're open to how that looks. We're open to multiple people, we're open to other partners funding it. But because of this needs assessment, that's what we want to kind of take an aim at this coming funding year. For context, this big project for 2025 was this needs assessment. And so we're going to do a big project every year until they stop giving us money. Because again, we're funded by externally, we don't raise this money. So this needs assessment was commissioned to inform our programming, hopefully y'all's. Ash has been very good to put all of the needs assessment online. I think it's in that bottom right corner. You want to say more about where to find it?
I'll pull up the website once we're finished doing
Okay.
it and walk folks through it. That way everybody can see what's what and where everything is.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it, so it will be updated, but.
But the needs assessment's already up.
Needs assessment is already up.
Yeah.
So
you'll have these results.
Yeah. I will say that right now I have them up as PowerPoints. I keep forgetting to upload the PDFs, and if you go to click on the PowerPoint, it will tell you that suspicious activity may be associated with this, and it's perfectly safe. And I uploaded it directly to WordPress, and so you're pulling it directly from there. But I will have PDF versions of it up probably tomorrow morning.
Okay, we love it. We're always trying to avoid the suspicious activity allegations, so we're moving forward. So Clarksville Q is seeking proposals, like I said, for that community center, operate year-round, serve as a space for queer, minority, women-led civic groups. Could be as funded as early as January, depending on how the proposal comes through. Again, this doesn't stop the other stuff that we're really proud to partner with and fund. It'll be our big project, and we can't do it alone. Surprise, surprise, $25,000 really doesn't go that far in opening a community center. So it'd have to be something where we have other partners, and there's us. There have to be an intentional effort to seek other funding. So, yeah, I think that's it. We can move into our. Thank y'all for sitting and listening through all that. We can move into a question and answer period. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Do you want me to show off the website real fast?
What's that?
Do you want me to show off the website?
Yeah, you can show up the website. What y'all think about what questions you're gonna ask.
That'll give everybody a second to.
That's okay. Working a bunch of screens is crazy.
Sorry, I've got 3 screens going, and I quite stand to have a couple more, but it is what it is.
For our Q&A, it can be more of a group discussion. we will not cash you as an individual a check or write a check to you as an individual. Or we may help you start a bank account and start an independent organization yourself. So we have a couple ways we can do that. Yeah. Other questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah, in the back.
Hello, wonderful humans. My name is Wendell Jackson. Okay.
Hold on, let me send the mic back to you. It's a little quiet.
Thank you, tonight.
And that's the mute button right there, so just click it and it'll make it.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, click the.
Okay, what?
There we go.
Thank you, yes. Hello, wonderful humans. I'm just a human being bumbling around on the planet,
Okay.
seeking answers. I found a few. Okay, I can't afford therapy myself, but I've learned something called tabula rasa. That means clean slate. There's no baby born with any knowledge. According to the Gregorian calendar that we use, it's 2025.
Yeah.
So that means there are babies being born without any knowledge, but we have
Okay.
a current paradigm of divisiveness.
Yeah.
Where, you're supposed to either fear, hate, dislike, or not associate with that other human being because of some label that somebody made up, whatever. But anyway, so I'm healing, and I've stopped harming people. I may hurt people's feelings when I tell them I no longer partake of certain things.
Okay.
For example, somebody says, so, what's your ethnicity? I say, well, we're all valid, viable, wonderful individual humans, and that's how I view you.
Okay.
We've been taught to be white, black, blue, purple, have something on your grandmother's side, we're some religion, we're some nationality, we're some whatever we are other than human. Okay, there's some science that I prescribe to. The extent of my medical training is the licensed massage therapy session I took course, and we didn't learn to massage white people muscles, black people muscles, ethnic people muscles. It was all human muscles and bones that I can't remember the names of. Anyway.
Are we leading to a question?
Yes,
or
I'm leading to
program?
say that I am an ally, I am
Okay.
a volunteer if anybody needs anything. I volunteer like a gopher,
Yeah.
because my mental capacity is like, I got 2 brain cells. Would you
Okay.
just tell me what to do and I'll do?
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah.
I don't have to stand, right?
No, I don't
We're
think
good?
so. I think
Okay.
you're good.
Thanks, Chaz, and thank you everyone for all this. Is very helpful. I've had some Clarksville people ask me about getting a legal clinic here for LGBT folks, but I did notice, I'm just kind of curious if you got more information on this, but it says it was pretty high on people believing there's no discrimination protections or very little discrimination protections, but then it was low on needing like legal support or legal education. Do you think there's a lack of trust in that, or do you think there's an ask for that still, or how did you make sense of?
I would never see legal clinics here. So my theory would be that people don't realize that the legal clinics could help them with that. They may not see the connection between I'm being discriminated against at work and a lawyer can help me stop that.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Which I think is a reasonable conclusion to make when you see how our state government acts. But yeah, no, I think that would be great. And it's definitely within our mission to support something like that if we want to bring some clinics here.
Awesome, yeah, well, the chamber has lawyers who wanna do this for free and they're like eager to like come out, so we just
Let's
need
do
to
it.
talk to y'all
Yeah.
and do all that. But I have a second question, if that's okay too.
Yeah, bring it on.
You said something about, businesses are less vocal about being inclusive because they need a base or something, can you say more to what?
Again, that's me theorizing. I think many people assume that Clarksville is overwhelmingly conservative and not supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. But when you look at the numbers, just like when you see in our elections, it's actually pretty close between more progressive or conservative, or more accepting and inclusive versus not. And so I think the perception of the community is very different than the reality, and people do not want to go against the perception. So I think if we had more tools to be like, no, like, we're here, we're gay, like, it's all good, like, we got each other, that I think could give more confidence. Because a lot of this queer infrastructure is brand new. Clarksville Q is 2 years old, Sea Pride is 2 years old, House of Healing is 1 year old, so I think we got some time. Queen City Choristers is 1 year old, or 8 months old, something like that.
Next month.
Next month, okay. Happy 8th month.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Question.
Is this thing on?
It is.
Okay. Jamie Kradke. I'm the music director for the Queen City Choristers. And the Keynotes is a youth choir that we're just getting started.
Good.
So all of the points that you were hitting on as far as like inclusivity and safe space for children is really important to me. I used to be a teacher and still do a lot of clinicking with high schools and middle schools across the Midwest. The legal clinic would be an awesome thing because I have been looking forever personally for how to change my name. So that would be perfect, so things of that nature would be fully endorsed, especially by the transgender community who's really struggling with all of that right now. The second thing I wanted to ask was the proposed center. Would that include like a small theater for kids? Would it include, a performance space? Things that, I myself as a musician leverage music to work with kids of from all different walks of life. So, would it include space for private lessons? Would it include, I could think of 1,000 things to do with that community center. So I just wanted to make sure that as that progresses, that those types of things are taken into consideration as well, so that we have a really effective space and that we're capitalizing on the funds that are put into that as best as possible.
Yeah, no, thank you. So the second question is about what the community center will look like. The first question was about the legal clinic and like changing names. So I'll do the first one. If anybody else wants to talk about the second one, and I don't have to answer all the questions, or if anybody else in the room has thoughts, jump on it. So we have a legal aid here in Clarksville that I don't have a relationship with, that I think if we do this, we should see if we can. That's exciting to me. If we can, the legal aid office, it's open most days every week. If we could build something with them, that'd be super cool. But yeah, we definitely need some infrastructure to do a name change. Surely we've got some lawyers that can help with something like that. That should happen a lot. I do think the thing to think about is same-sex marriages back at the Supreme Court and could very easily in 90 days be done in Tennessee. We have a church law. Same-sex marriage would probably be done as soon as the court rules that day in Tennessee. So we'd have to, and there's ways you can build most of a marriage to try to counteract that. So yeah, were you gonna speak to the legal aid piece?
No, I was gonna ask a different question.
Okay, get to the second question. The community center part, that question is more to the room than it is to us. So we're not the doers, we're the funders, and we're happy to be thought partners. I think everything you named is good and needed, theater space, art space. But yeah, it's gonna have to come down to a coalition of groups that can put it together and fund it. I don't think $25,000 gets us a theater, but I think 5 groups that put in $25,000 every year for a couple of years absolutely could. Any other thoughts on that?
I just had a comment about the legal aid. I do think it is a good idea for a legal clinic to come help the LGBTQ community here. As someone who went through basically a case that's never happened here in Tennessee because I'm LGBT. We couldn't find lawyers or judges that were able to give us any kind of help because they didn't know anything about same-sex surrogacy. And there are no Tennessee laws about same-sex surrogacy. So having clinics like that can be beneficial for same-sex couples who are going through, you know, building their families or changing their names or doing things of that sort. So I did like that point of you bringing up a legal clinic.
Did you have any local lawyers you worked with on that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so maybe some local lawyers we could.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one. He's down for the game.
Next question. Oh, did you have more, Julie?
I was just gonna say, I was the president of the board for 3 years for Nashville's LGBT Community Center, and it was a struggle and trying to keep the lights on and the air conditioner working and the heater and whatever, but it eventually closed, and I think one of the reasons, there was a lot of reasons that it closed, but when it first opened, everybody was so excited and supportive, and there were events, and mostly they were free, but also we had, you know, sometimes a small stipend for your group, or we would let people could have weddings and things there, and that they would, you know, pay for that, just to kind of support it. But the support kind of waned, and I think part of it was because I don't think we thought broadly enough, like that, a theater. I mean, there were dances, there were occasionally there were things going on. I think the more things that were, if there were more things going on in there, it would still maybe be open, it'd still be supported. And so I think that to start from scratch with a really broad idea of what it could be would help it to be successful and last and maybe still be there, like Nashville might still have one.
Testing. Okay, it works. So I had 2 questions/statements. First, I came here all the way from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and I am a community organizer, also looking into Masters of Social Work programs. And I know that I try to make things happen with the LGBT community in Hopkinsville, but wasn't successful, so that's why I'm here, to learn from you all. My question is, I know that you all focus on Clarksville, but I wanted to know more on how you appeal to populations that are within surrounding counties, within and without, like across state lines. Also, in regards to the study, I'm concerned about you all reaching people that are formerly incarcerated or currently incarcerated, as I feel like the LGBT community within the legal system that aren't able to vote because of their criminal history, as well as if they're currently incarcerated, like how they would be able to contribute to surveys like this. So I wanted to know more feedback in regards to that.
No, it's a good point. I can speak to it unless somebody else. The first one, we adjusted our therapy fund with Healing Umbrella to include anyone in a county that touches Montgomery County. So Christian, Trigg, Todd, I think it's the 3 Kentucky counties. Come on in. Let us know, Healing Umbrella, and let them know that you're in, and you can pass that along. And they've got, I think, a website on their website for Healing Umbrella about that program. So that's the first one. And we're open to a lot of collaboration. There's a lot of other civic groups that cross the border. I know both of our NAACP chapters here will do joint programming. I know, yeah, there's several different groups that do stuff in Oak Grove. So maybe this is like a, you know, the country song meet in the middle. I think we could probably meet in the middle somewhere and do some stuff. Then the other one was, remind me, sorry. Incarcerated. Yeah. When you do a survey like this, it is hard to, especially like a phone survey like this, it's hard to get just a list of people. So we opted for voters this time, just because that is a list we can get our hands on and do it at scale. So to get the 534 respondents, you know, we had to make, you know, 10, 15,000 calls. But I think it's a good point that we need to actually look for programs to support incarcerated folks. I think voter rights restoration is a really big issue in Clarksville that some of the other activists in the community are trying to figure out how to build some clinics around that. So, and that maybe tie in with some of the other clinic ideas we're thinking of is how to help with voting rights restoration.
I do want to speak briefly about, here, I'll just project my voice because I'm a theater kid.
You can pass this along if you
No,
need
it's
it.
okay. From an academic standpoint, doing any sort of research on an incarcerated population is extremely difficult because it falls under the category of vulnerable populations. So if if the public health department at APSU, because we have a faculty member who is who's in the public health, who is also on our board. But if she wanted to do any sort of research on incarcerated populations, it's very difficult to get it past the internal review board at universities because they are considered a vulnerable population because it's like, what are they gonna say? No? And so there's a lot of more oversight and a lot more ethical and legal hoops to jump through in order to be able to do any sort of research on incarcerated populations.
Other questions, thoughts, concerns? Jamie?
Would you expand, Chaz, would you expand on the same-sex marriage and what you were talking about in 90 days?
Yeah, so the Supreme Court is rehearing a case around the constitutionality of same-sex marriage. And it is possible that they either decide to rehear Obergefell, was it Windsor? Hodges? I can't remember. Hodges, thank you. Most legal scholars I talk to say that they're probably not going to roll back same-sex marriage. But then some say that it's very possible that they come down similar to the Dobbs decision, which is the decision on abortion access, the reversal of Roe v. Wade, which basically puts it back to the states and then we have a whole other patchwork of laws. So it's unlikely but possible that by the end of the year we're in that situation again that we were, the first week of June in 2015, where it's legal in some states and you can go in another state and have a same-sex marriage, but then you can bring that marriage back, but you can't actually start one in your own state like Tennessee, where it's against our state constitution and it's against our state law to get a same-sex marriage.
We're doing the same thing with conversion therapy.
Yes. Yeah, that case was just heard. I was about to bring that up. The argument that they're trying to make is that as long as it's just talk therapy, it falls under freedom of speech and not medical care.
That goes against all ethics.
Yeah, so they're saying that if you're just doing talk therapy, then it's okay to do conversion therapy because that's a free speech issue. That's what they're trying to argue. That's what they're trying to argue. And Colorado is like, no, it's a medical issue. And so that was just heard before the Supreme Court.
Week.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah. So, Jamie, I guess I'll keep expanding on it. If the worst comes to fruition, we should be ready to have clinics about, I think the way it's phrased is how to build a marriage. There's like 1,000 different rights that are enshrined in marriage, and there's a lot of them, the great majority of them, you can then designate to someone outside of a marriage. And so it's helping same-sex couples or mixed-gender couples figure out how to do power of attorney, how to share property, how to do their will, how to set up who can see me in the hospital, things like that.
Definitely important.
Yeah, it's infrastructure that existed in 2015, going into the when it was legalized. So the muscles are there. We gotta rework them. It's really sad. Yeah, we're relitigating a lot of our rights, and that's just where we are. I think it's going to be easier for us to organize through this when we realize that everything's on the table and we all gotta fight for each other. And no matter how bad they are, we're gonna be badder and we're gonna go harder. We're not gonna stop until we get freedom and liberation.
Amen.
Yeah. So if the money dries up, that's okay. We're still gonna fight. We're still gonna be here.
I love you, Chad.
Well, dang it, I love you. Any other questions? I hope y'all apply. I hope y'all continue to apply. We're excited to start this next year as a board. Did any board members want to wrap up with anything? We good? Ash, you got something?
I will say from personal experience as a trans woman living in Clarksville, it is a far more accepting place than the perception of it is. And like I know that, and like there are businesses like I try to be a positive example, but I like to go into businesses where there are younger trans individuals working, and they're all scared out of their minds. I talk about this regularly with my therapist. She's like, "You're handling all of this a lot better than some of my younger folks." I'm like, yeah, because I remember the 90s and I remember what happened to, Melissa Etheridge and Ellen DeGeneres and Jodie Foster and everybody else. It's like, we've actually come a long way. We don't, like, if somebody were to try to make Ace Ventura Pet Detective today, it would not fly. And so, like, we've come a long, we have come a long way. They're trying to take us back right now, but it feels like some sort of, like, extinction spasm almost, where they're like, it's like, they realize that they're losing, and so they're just trying to, codify everything as quickly and as hard as they possibly can, because they know that they're losing. Because I can walk into Clarksville and, like, in just about any business, like even the hardware stores, it's like you think like Lowe's, and no, I can wear a skirt. I can wear a skirt to Lowe's, and I'll get one old farmer that looks at me, because it's actually happened to me. I bought 3/4 inch PEX pipe, and I actually needed 1/2 inch PEX pipe, and he just looked me up and down and was like, well, you could say that 3/4 identifies as 1/2 inch PEX pipe. And the ladies behind the counter at Lowe's shut him down so fast, my head was spinning. So like they were like, nope, miss, what can we do to help you out today? We'll take care of anything you need, miss. And we're very, very blatant about it. So like I said, Clarksville itself, in general, I've not really had any problems. There are some places that I would avoid, but overall, it's been a very accepting place, which is not the perception that people have of Clarksville. And that's why I try to be out there and, running around as, an obviously trans woman, because it does help the younger folks just be like, I'll watch them and their eyes will light up and they'll just be like, oh, we do exist here, and it's okay to exist here. And for me, that's that's one of my joys in life. So no, it really is. Like I said, Clarksville is far more accepting, and I feel like a lot of that does have to do with the base, because back even as recent as '99, a soldier at the base was involved with a trans individual down in Nashville, and 2 of his squad mates beat him to death.
Private Barry Winchell.
Private Barry Winchell. And so Fort Campbell had to be on their toes in terms of, and be more forward thinking, just so that they could, start to be like, no, that does not represent who we are. And so Fort Campbell has always been sort of on the side of pushing things forward, which is, again, not the way we usually think of the military. It's certainly not the way that our current administration thinks of the military with its, whole warrior ethos thing. But I think that the entrenched officer corps at the base is still very much not our enemy, at least.
Yeah, and especially the enlisted. I mean, I go to church, and there's been several gay soldiers that have come to my church because it's accepting, and that they're seeking gay community in Clarksville. So the story that I want to close on is a little bit about Clarksville history, but a little bit about just like our history as a queer community. Just accepting that it doesn't move in a straight line, but what is constant is community that we build, that us having each other. So in Clarksville, after the Civil War, there was a bit of a black renaissance here in this town. There was an intentional decision by our mayor, who was white, formerly a slave owner, or slavery perpetrator, I should say. And he went to, Mace Dixon, I believe, was the first one, a black gentleman who was a business owner just 2 blocks away. And he said, we've got to have a multiracial coalition. And Mace Dixon was already organized in the black community, already doing the work. And they decided to lead Clarksville as a team. And so we had this growth of black businesses. We had this growth of black elected officials. We had a black state representative in Clarksville elected in 1896. Our first black state official, 1896. Now, as that was built out, and one evidence that I see in my house, I live across from Mount Hall Cemetery, and you can see that the gravestones in 1870, it's a historically black cemetery, the names on it are written, they're carved by hand by someone who's not a stonemason. 1870s. 1880s, they're decent sized. And then you get to the 1880s and 1890s, you see these large gravestones. But then you get to the 1890s and you start seeing the pushback. You start seeing the powers, the white supremacist powers in our state were systematically dismantling the black wealth and the black power in this city. Similar to the LGBT movement in Germany around the same time, the 1890s, the 19-teens, there was a budding queer rights movement. They didn't use the same acronym, but there was a belief in liberation for lesbians and gay men in Germany. There were gay bars in Berlin that were thriving and wonderful, and there was gay movies and gay magazines in 19-teens. Of course, that wasn't the end of the story for Germany. The Holocaust comes, and the last prisoners released from the Holocaust were in the 1970s, and it was the queer folks. I tell you the darkness about how it falls, because after the war, these communities organized and built communities and built power and got us to where we are now. We do not stop as the darkness comes. We lean in, we find joy, we fight, we do it all, and we hold each other. And we're going to get there eventually. It's not going to be a straight line, it's going to be bumpy, and it could get dark, but we're going to be for each other. So I'm really glad to have all of you here and work with y'all. So I got y'all got me?
I got you.
Okay. So we're going to Eagle Nash to get a beer after this. Whoever wants. I'm going to go get my dog and hang out at the bar if anybody wants to go. Some of you, it's probably close to bedtime. But yeah, apply. Check out ClarksvilleQ.com, right? Is it .org? .org. ClarksvilleQ.org. Thank you. Apply for grant funding. If you have questions, feel free to talk to us here or at the bar. Anything else before we go?
Eat some more food.
Eat some more food! All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, everybody.